If you've been following the news recently, you may have seen the movie theater chain AMC plans to start charging higher prices for better seats in the theater. You know, hearing things like that always, well, it gets me to thinking, I'm getting older, you guys, and sometimes I don't even understand the world I'm living in anymore. Things are changing every day, and not always for the better. So it's time to take a moment to talk about how things were just a little bit more simple back in my day. Back in my day, AMC wasn't charging more for better seats. Back in my day, if you wanted good seats at the theater, you could take your pick because the year was 2021 and everyone else was afraid to leave the house. And if by some miracle there was someone else in the theater that day and they were sitting where you wanted to sit, all you had to do was plop down in the seat right next to them and give a little cough. Right within striking distance of their popcorn. Just a little one like this. Pretty soon, the whole place was yours. Back in my day, they weren't selling hard Mountain Dew Sugarfoot. Back in my day, if you wanted a hard Mountain Dew, you bought a regular 2-liter Mountain Dew bottle, poured half out, and filled the rest up with Everclear. It was the only alcohol you had to be 21 and under to drink. Let's just say after a couple of hard Mountain Dews, if you made it back to the bedroom with your best gal, there would be no Baja Blast. Back in my day, we weren't banning TikTok. Back in my day, if you wanted to get people to stop using a social media platform, why, you just get Elon Musk to buy it. Back in my day, politicians weren't trying to ban drag shows. If you didn't want to see men in stockings and wigs and makeup, well, then you just stayed the hell away from the founding fathers. They're big. They have big old feathers on their pens. Back in my day, newspapers weren't dropping Dilbert because its creator went on a racist rant. Back in my day, the comics place was an escape, an innocent place where nothing controversial ever happened. Well, except for that one time Linus went hard in the paint and claimed there were micromagnets in the vaccine. But hey, he was right about the Great Pumpkin. Back in my day, we weren't watching The Last of Us on HBO cable sauce. Back in my day, if we were watching HBO, it was a little show called Real Sex. Now, the sex was weird and everybody was ugly, but before the internet, that was your best option if you wanted to see a boob. You think The Last of Us folks have it bad? Try cranking it to a group of 80-year-olds learning to have a 30-day orgasm. Come to think about it, I think that episode was called The Blast of Us. I feel like you're purposely not making eye contact with me. Back in my day, California wasn't being hit with 6.5 feet of snow. If you wanted to see 6.5 feet of white powder in California, you had to visit Charlie Sheen on the set of 2.5 Men. Yeah, that's right. That's right, I'm winning. Back in my day, trains full of toxic chemicals weren't constantly derailing in Ohio. Back in my day, if you wanted to see something go off the rails and cause a toxic environment, you had to visit Charlie Sheen on the set of 2.5 Men. Diminishing returns, you say? Back in my day, 1,000 British people weren't breaking the Guinness World Record for most people crocheting simultaneously. No, if you want to see that many hookers, you had to visit Charlie Sheen. All right, I'll let it go. Relax. It's called the rule of threes. 21 for you. Back in my day, guests at art fairs weren't breaking Jeff Koons balloon animal statues. Van Gogh, yourself. Back in my day, if you wanted to destroy a balloon, you had to get a U.S. fighter jet to fire a heat-seeking missile at it. Well, I still remember those days way back in February 2023. You felt proud to be an American, shooting those balloons out of the sky. Even though even now, you don't really understand what was going on. First, there was just the one balloon, then there were like 6, then maybe it turned out some of those weren't real. There were like multiple press conferences, I think. In any case, it's over now, or it's not. For as much as we talked about it, I feel like I should know a few more details. News just moves so fast these days, Rusty. Look at me. Back in my day, streaming services weren't pulling all their shows. NBC was. Did you know we once had a show on this network called Animal Practice, and it starred an actual monkey? I think it was canceled mid-episode. Meanwhile, I tried to get an actual dog on this show, AKA the easiest animal to get on Earth. And the brass was like, how about a stuffed dog that's made of a material you're definitely allergic to? No. This was a different thing, Rusty. You're a real dog. Back in my day, Bing didn't have a chat box. Well, who knows? Maybe they did. No one ever used it to find out. All I know is that back then, if you said the words chatbot by Bing, then somebody in a bar might respond with a bing bop chatty bow, and then you'd reply with a chitty chitty bebop shoobop bow, and then they'd hit you back with a skiddly doo skiddly doo, and then the bartender, he'd chase you both out with a broom, shouting, I told you, freaky jazz nuts, there's no scat singing in this here establishment. Go bing your chatty ding dong somewhere else. Simpler times. Well, I apologize that I had to do that, but sometimes this grumpy old Gus has to, oh yeah, you know what I'm drinking. Get his gripe on. This has been Back in My Day.